Hello everybody, Stephanie here, and I'm going to show you how to make this particular bowl in this video. It doesn't look like a whole lot, I know, and unfortunately this one I need to talk about at the end of the video. But if you take a piece like this, and I'll explain why I have a second blank in a minute, and cover it with something like the Mardi Gras confetti glass, they turn out really, really cool. I didn't do it for this one because I'm trying to keep the number of colors down. But when I made these for my wedding, I made about a dozen of these out of the 60 I made. And they were all the first ones to get snapped up by my guests. I mean, you could even use, I wouldn't use it on the spring green, but you could use like a white with a different colored confetti glass on it. And it would be really cool. So watch along on how I cut and set these up to fit in a 5-inch mold. Alright, we're here at the cutting table and I have a confession to make. Steph is a dumbass. I deleted the footage that I had made of this particular piece and assembling it. So I'm recreating it, and since I didn't have another 3-inch scrap of green available, I cut this little piece so you'll see that it is different. I also forgot to cut a 5-inch square to show you a second style to doing this. So you're just going to have to use the theater of the mind to figure this out. And honestly, this piece would probably make a better center than a solid green one. But in the interest of keeping this into basic projects that don't require a whole lot of fancy glass, I chose to go with the solid spring green. But anyway, we're going to dive right in. To do this, you're going to need a 3-inch square of glass of your choice. As you can see, I've used spring green and this beautiful streaky special production from Bullseye. You will need a 3-inch piece of cleaned Texta. Don't be me and leave the stickers on it. And you will need 8 4-inch by 1-inch pieces of your surrounding outside color. I'm using black because it makes a nice contrast, but you're welcome to use whatever is available. I don't recommend clear because you can see the seams when you do it. But if you want to do that, you do you, boo. I'm not your mama. So, first thing you do, set down your clear, and then use your glue of choice. I use glass tack gel. This is just from a big bottle parted out. And glue it on top of your clear. I'm not going to because I need to show a second thing with this. Then, take your pieces that are better cut than this. These were cut from scrap. And line them up so the top one matches one edge. You can go either direction, but lines up with the perpendicular edge. And then take your next piece. And if you have any of these pieces that don't want to fit like this, where it is kind of caught, set them to the outside where they'll be a little less noticeable if you don't have grazing pliers handy to trim them down. The neater you cut these, the better they'll look in the next part. But take your pieces and arrange them in a windmill pattern. You can see this one's too thick, and this guy is too thin. But this is all for example, so don't... when you see the actual one, it will be much smoother. But once you have them laid out like this, apply your glue all around. And get it in the corners, because if you don't, lifting this piece will be hard to do. And then take your next piece and lay it over that seam. That way, when everything fuses, if there's any gaps or problems, the piece on top will bridge the gap and allow the glass to flow in. So you do it again, and again, and again. Cut your glass better than I have for this example. I'm kind of in a rush because it's been over a month since I put out a video. But lay your glass out, glue it all down, and let it dry. If you do not put glue in the corners, you will be picking up pieces that look like this. And that's fine if you want to rearrange them in your kiln shelf. Me, I recommend just doing this on a kiln shelf. Or on a piece if you use fiber paper or thin fire or papyrus. Do it on that, and then if you don't put it on your kiln shelf, you can at least set something firm underneath it and slide it on. But yeah, otherwise you got 4 little pieces like this you get to glue back together. And for the record, it's a pain in the ass. I'm moving these away because somebody's going to be watching this and going, Steph, why don't you just back it with clear? I mean, it saves money. Black is more expensive than clear. And it would save you having to cut and handle all those fiddly little pieces. And you could. I'm going to show you why you don't in the next clip, which I actually didn't delete. But let's pretend I've got myself one 5" by 5" clear base. You would do the same thing again. I mean, the advantage to this is you could pick out pieces of glass that are a lot better, more uniform in width. But again, you want to pinwheel. Why? Because they're 4" by 1" and that makes 5. But just do your pinwheel. Pretend they're all the same length. Glue them to your base of clear and let them dry. But before you do this, watch the next part of this video. As you can see, the edges aren't perfect because I was lazy in cutting. But one thing you notice when it's sitting on the light box is there are no gaps where you can see clear. Why? Because the only clear is at the very bottom of this piece. And I want you to compare that to this one. Now, I don't know how well my camera's capturing this, but I can see right here, and here, and there, and there, and that corner, where you can see the clear base glass through this piece. I mean, maybe it's not so bad when it's off, but I can still see here and here at least, and there in the dark. So this is why you want to use black top and bottom, because it avoids all of these little lines where the pieces meet up. And like I showed on this piece, there is nowhere the clear shows through, like in the corners, like it does here. Now on to slumping. Okay, so here is the final piece. You'll notice it's wobbling. This is something that bears noticing, is the bottom. I don't know if you can see, but the bottom is completely smooth on this. I took it up to 1225 for 15 minutes in my kiln, and it didn't slump to the bottom. You can see where it just touched, or I can see because the center of my mold has a dot, that's an air hole, and it's right there, but it only just touched. So I'm going to have to put it back in for at least another 5, probably 10. And the reason for this is it's all opal glass. 2 layers of black, 1 layer green. This layer of clear is just not enough for it to drop out. This stuff is stiffer than transparents, and that's something you have to be aware of when you're working with this stuff. Now, if I'd made the entire middle out of, like, say, Mardi Gras and I don't have any here, but a piece of transparent, then the center probably would have dropped down. But because I didn't, and I used 1 layer of opal glass, it didn't work quite the same. So that's something you need to be aware of when you're working with your kiln, is not only do kilns fire differently, but different types of glass react differently in the kiln as far as heat application goes. This is it for this month's video. I'm trying to get them out more than once a month, but I have been super busy lately. Next video, we're going to work with squares and stack them. Thank you all for watching. If this video was useful to you, please throw me a like or a subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.